Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Now, if you're watching this on the recording before everybody has a chance to join, I'll go ahead and just say I'm going to put the chapters down at the bottom. I know if you're watching the replay, you might not want to see me talk about all the comments, though feel free to do that. But I will go ahead and just talking about topics down in the chapters that I'll list in the description. So you can just add those in there. Good afternoon, good evening. I don't think anybody's watching from the morning time here. I know the ad probably just played for a lot of you. Let's see who all's here. Who do we have in the chat? I see Darren is here. Hey there, Just. I don't know if that's short for Justin or Just, but how you doing? Who else is here? I love seeing where everybody is from as well. Hey, Tony. Joe. Scary. Happy Halloween or almost happy Halloween, Scary. Ocean to Travel. And Just is short for Justin. Ha, I'm getting smart in my old age over here. Got New York. We've got Philly. Lots of great places. I'm always impressed when people not in South Florida are watching the Weekend Cruiser. I know that weekend cruises are tough for you all, but I'm glad that you are here. Central Texas. Lindy, hello. Darren in Daytona. Funny story, Darren. I actually did 3 months in Cleveland, Ohio. So when I was interning as a college student, one of the places that I went was Cleveland for 3 months and had a wonderful time up there. I've not been back since. I should do it just to see how much it's changed. But it was a really good time up there. Fort Myers. And Michael wondering if it's Tony Diaz from the blog. I'll let Tony respond to that one. Ooh, Alan, on the Radiance. Hope you're having a wonderful time. Off the coast of Mexico. Hope you're having good weather. I know off the coast of Mexico can get cool going into this kind of time of year. Got Washington State. Hollywood, Florida with Sig just up the street, not far at all. Hey there, Sig. From St. Lucia on the Carnival Venezia. Hello, Thomas. Hollywood, Florida again. South Florida people representing today. You know, Scary, that is definitely something. Living down here is different. I mean, I try to use more sunscreen, try to be safer. We have huge amounts of pedestrian deaths. Unfortunately, being so close to the cruise ships mean, you guessed it, I go on a cruise a lot more than I probably should. That's probably my biggest downfall of living in South Florida. Granted, it's by design, but it is certainly crazy. Lots of cruises coming up. We've got Justin going in the Allure for a Halloween cruise. We've got Michael who's going on the Wonderful, what probably is not going to be a Halloween cruise. So it sounds like you can get off just a few days before Halloween. I do enjoy a Halloween sailing. I don't know if many of you have done those, but the ships do decorate. They don't decorate normally for the entire month of October. I think the only one that does that is Disney Cruise Lines, which the one time I ever did Disney was actually a Halloween sailing for them. Royal will do it normally about that actual cruise, but it is a good time. You get to see all the people dressed up, even the adults dress up. So if that's something that interests you, you can certainly do that and have a blast. Kevin coming in from California. Zion, Illinois. I'm going to have to look Zion up on a map. I don't know where that is. I do know where Illinois is, Amaria, but I don't know where Zion specifically is. Chuck coming in from Detroit. Hey, Ashley. I saw a lot of people last cruise. So one thing, and I'm going to talk about this later on, it's kind of interesting. I saw a lot of people on the last cruise that I knew. So it was pretty cool, I would say. I enjoy meeting you all. And when I say that, I genuinely mean I enjoy meeting you all. So it is always a fun time for me to get to say hello, hear from you, and get to know you a little bit. If you're missing Cabo, you're definitely missing a good time. Cabo is one of my absolute favorite places to go. I think I've been there 3 times now. I've got a very good friend of mine who lives over in Cabo San Lucas, and it is just a wonderful, wonderful time. So I'm sorry if you are not making it there. Please make sure that you do get back to Cabo. They've got some wonderful food, some great places to stay. It's really, really nice. Tony and the Serenade. I love the Serenade. That is one of my favorite class of ships within Royal Caribbean. It is just a really good time. They don't make them like that anymore. It's kind of like when you go into an old school kind of building and it's just got this elegance to it. The Serenade in that class still has that. The newer ships these days, I kind of feel like I walk into a little bit of a mall, if you will. Versus walking into a really nice ship. So that's going to be an awesome time. Hopefully the storm, I know the leftovers of Philippa are up there impacting some of the itineraries right now. So hopefully that's going to move on very quick. Oh, you got a spring break cruise coming up. I actually enjoy spring break cruises. They're very, very different, but they are good. I mean, if you're at the Harmony, there are going to be a ton of kids. We are talking 600, 1,000 children, if not more, on the sailing. So if you have kids, Ashley, and you're going with kids, they're going to have an amazing time. Yes, if you're coming out of Miami, we are having fantastic weather. I got off of the Virgin Voyages Scarlet Lady this morning, which is why I'm sitting at home. I'm not normally at home on the weekends. But you all know that if it is towards the western part of Dodge Island, so Dodge Island is a long, narrow kind of island that has the cruise ships on it. So Terminal A is on the east side, closest to South Beach. And as you come further over to the Virgin Terminal, Terminal V, you get closer to the west side and closer to downtown. And I decided to take the cheap route, as I often do. And I took the trolley that I've told you all about a few times. I think I even made one video on just how the Coral Way Miami trolley works. It's not really a trolley. It's more of a bus that looks like a trolley. But I went outside and waited for it. And it was probably a 15-minute wait. Not horrible. But the humidity at 8 o'clock this morning was already kicking. I couldn't believe that it was already as humid as it was that early in the morning. Initially, I said, I was going to walk. I was just going to go directly from the cruise ship, walking home, which is like 30 to 45 minutes walking, and even make a video and a vlog about it. As soon as I got outside, I was like, nope, we are not doing that today. It is much too hot to do that. So the weather down here in Miami is still beautiful. I am ready to go into the cooler weather, actually, and I kind of hate to say that, but when we get into January, February, and March here, and it is a high of 78 every day, 80, I love those days. That's my favorite time of year down here. Heading to Rome on the Odyssey. That is one ship I've not been on with Royal Caribbean Lindia, so I am going to wait for your recommendations on what you think about it. But I'd love to try more of them one of these days. Justin, I hope you are not driving the truck at the same time you are watching this. I think that might be a little dangerous. Take care of yourself. Always prioritize safety. But welcome from Cincinnati. Darren, booking into 2024 already. I think this is smart. If you are looking at the prices of cruises, they are crazy these days, right? Like the prices have really shot up. I personally am playing what I call the long game still. So I just booked last week probably 7 more cruises in 2025. I found some really good deals on, I think it was the Celebrity Silhouette that's going to be selling out of Fort Lauderdale, doing 3 nights. They have 4 solo cabins on that ship, and I scored a solo cabin in all of the 7 bookings that I made for like $300 for the weekend. Like, not bad at all. I will take it all day long. I hate the fact that it's in Fort Lauderdale because it's just one more step. I mean, the cruise port here in Miami, it's literally like I can peek around my curtain here and be like, it's right there. So I'm going to hate the fact that I've now got to pay Uber, $35, $45 to get me up to Port Everglades, but for a price of $300 for a weekend. And on Celebrity, where you look at an interior going for like $800, not a bad deal. So I'll take that all day long. Crystal, I'm trying to pronounce that to make it all fancy. Look at you going on your first cruise there. So that's going to be an awesome time. Welcome to this channel. Hopefully you're getting lots of educational content. You feel well prepared to go on that first cruise. Thomas looking at the Symphony. Kevin, you won't be able to make the group cruise on November 3rd. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're not going to be able to come. There will be more. We're actually going to talk about that some today. So let me go ahead and transition into our first topic, and then I'll come back to some of these questions. You all are in the comments today, and I am loving it. So let's talk about a few things. So as many of you know, we do have a group cruise coming up on November 3rd. It is the Allure of the Seas inaugural weekend sailing. And I chose that because it is the very first weekend sailing that the Allure of the Seas is doing. And I thought, you know, what a better way to have a group cruise than be able to go there and christen the Allure of the Seas. And there are still, I checked earlier, right before this call, there's still rooms available on the Allure of the Seas. If you want to join, the interior rooms are going for about $431 per person at double occupancy plus taxes. And if you want a boardwalk balcony, it's $553 per person. So not bad prices for what I'm seeing for the Allure of the Seas and being closer in. The prices have come down. So if you looked at the group cruise, 4-5 months ago, give Ron another shot. That is the travel agent that we're using. Send in the JotForm, which is linked in the description down below. And he'll get you updated pricing for what your situation and getting you on the group cruise. It is still going. We've got a good group. I think there's about 15 of us that are currently signed up for it. And it is a good mix of, I'll say couples as well as solo travelers. I love that solo travelers are coming with us and they're going to enjoy a solo cruise, but in the comfort of a group. I think that that's a really nice touch and something I'll probably try to do like a special kind of cruise of just for solos down the street or down the way. But I just think that that's really, really neat. So if you want to come with us on the Allure of the Seas, this is out of Port Canaveral. So I'm traveling up. I've actually booked, I was looking at today, I've got Red Coach tickets. That is the bus that runs from Miami to Orlando. I'm going to take that. And then I'm going up the night before, staying at a hotel, and then I'm going to be coming back the next night. So I'll be making a video on what my transit options. I am taking the absolute cheapest approach to getting myself to Miami. So this is going to be really interesting, and it's going to be the first one for me, but I will certainly make it onto the cruise. Whatever comes, I will make it there. But please complete the JotForm. We would love to have you come and join us. But as I think through, what the group cruise is going to look like, we've got this one coming up on November 3rd. That is really close. I want to announce what the next group cruise is going to be. And so I wanted to pick you all's brain on where do you want to go? If I was to do another group cruise, this will now be the second group cruise. We did one on the Liberty of the Seas. We've done one on the Allure now, and I'd love to plan another one for next year that we can probably soon announce and go ahead and start planning as well. And so I wanted to get your thoughts in some polls here on where you want to go out of. So let's start with, what is your favorite cruise port that you would want to do a group cruise with the weekend cruiser out of? And so we've got, I could type these. I couldn't find a way to do the questions in advance. Luckily, I can type pretty quick. So we're going to come in here. I'm going to use the actual cities versus the name of the port, because I don't know. I think that's a little bit easier sometimes. And I will say Cape Canaveral instead of Orlando. So I'm going to put in just a few options here. And I am restricting them to ports that I am good with. So I'm going to be a little selfish in this. I'm not listing, for this one at least, I'm not listing West Coast. It's not Europe. It's not, anywhere extreme. But where would you all want to go on a group cruise? So thinking forward into when is our next one, I'd love to see what your thoughts are on the best group cruise location that you would like to sail out of. Me personally, I'm flexible. I'm figuring out this whole Port Canaveral thing. If everybody comes through and says, Brandon, we want to do Canaveral, I will make it happen. So I'm curious to see where all of you love sailing from, if there's a place that's easier than the rest. I know, if nothing else, Miami Airport can be a little overwhelming and a little pricey. Most people, I feel like, fly into Fort Lauderdale Airport and then come down to the Port Miami. But just a few things to consider. So go ahead and throw in your poll. Looks like there's a few folks for any port in Florida. I think that is always great to be a little on the flexible side. And then it is almost evenly split between Canaveral and Miami. Fort Lauderdale coming in just a little bit below. All good feedback. So the next thing, so we can kind of see, what port you all are looking at. Here's a question for you, and this is where it gets a little bit more tricky. Would you want to do a weekend cruise or a 4-night cruise? I don't know if many of you are close enough where a weekend is great. There's a couple of weekends for next year that I can actually do a 4-night without a problem. So let's see let me cut that out and get it in as a question or as a poll. See if you all want a true weekend cruise. So MSC these days is having the kind of weekend cruises. They leave on Thursday and come back on Sunday. Still 3 nights, but not really a weekend. 4 nights, Thursday to Monday morning, which is probably my first favorite kind of cruise is a long weekend cruise. 3 nights sometimes is just not enough. So I'm going to open that poll up. Let's see, do you want a true weekend cruise? It is the weekend cruiser, so I can understand if you want a weekend cruise. Or had you prefer a 4-night sailing on one of the cruise lines that is out there? And I'd have to look around for some of those, but there's definitely some that we can make that happen on if it works out. Looks like the 4-nighter is pulling ahead right now. A few folks are voting for that true weekend cruise, the Friday to Monday. I definitely do enjoy those. But, if we can make it for a 4-night, we can do that. Fantastic. Looks like my camera went out of focus here. There we go. I'll lean into it a little bit. I've got an auto focus on this camera, and it doesn't always work the way I want it to. And this is the biggest question of all when we think about the next group cruise. What cruise line do you want it on? So you all know that I am more of a free agent these days. Royal Caribbean is probably always going to be my first love, is what I like to refer to her as. But I think that there's some other good options that are out there. So we've got Royal Caribbean, we've got Celebrity, we've got MSC. I'm going to leave it at those 3 for right now because I think those are the ones that I would want to do. Again, being a little bit selfish on this, but which one of these would be your favorite if we did a weekend or a 4-night? See which one comes through. And I would not be surprised if Royal Caribbean is the biggest one. I know many of us appreciate Royal Caribbean. And thinking of a group, like if you want to do this, I've often actually thought about doing an NCL or a Carnival cruise. I have never done NCL, and I haven't done Carnival in probably 15 years. And so I've thought about doing a group cruise on those just to be like, hey, come with me as I go into a brand new ship, brand new cruise line, and we'll figure it out together. But I kind of like knowing how things are going to play out for the group cruises. So I think that that's just a comfort zone for me. And not unsurprising, 67% of the people that voted, 64% now are voting for Royal Caribbean. Celebrity and MSC are actually tied. So as you all heard me mention just a second ago, I said I might do a solo cruise one of these days, or a group cruise focused on us solo cruisers. If I ever did that, MSC is probably going to be the way that I'm going to go, simply because they don't always charge the double occupancy. They will not do the single supplement and just charge 100% of the fare, not the full 200%. So if I do that, there might be a good chance that, MSC is going to be there simply from a cost perspective. Because I know not all of us like paying double occupancy. I know I sure don't. I don't even like paying 150% on Royal Caribbean, but thanks to status, I do get that as a little bit of a discount. So I am glad to have that and not pay as much. That literally saves me thousands of dollars because they don't have that. Awesome. So thank you all for voting in that. I'm going to come back over here to the comments and see what all you have. Hey, Tony, asking about the President's Cruise. So I have never been one who wants to do a President's Cruise. I see it as being a place with a lot of personalities that are going to be confined on a cruise ship. It's also normally not an itinerary or time that I would personally choose. For my longer vacations, I like to have a little bit more control. I don't want to go just because it is the president's cruise, if you will. It would be a nice check the box exercise. I would like to do it one day, but I imagine you'll see me doing the president's cruise once it is finally, once I am finally retired or not working a 9-to-5 job. That's probably when you'll see me on the president's cruise. You should totally record, Ashley, your kid's reaction when you tell them that you are taking them on a cruise ship and see how it goes. I'd love to see that. Sig, smart man. So people ask all the time, how do I afford to go so often? Am I finding good deals, last minute deals? And the answer is the exact opposite of that. I am a planner by nature. I could plan a cruise for myself literally every day of the week. There's probably very few days that go by where I do not look at my cruise schedule and daydream and try to see what I can do next. And when those prices get right, when I start seeing weekends for $300, I'm booking them. So well done, Sig. You can get deals out there. If you are flexible, Scary, and you want to change up your port, maybe you want to do an off season, you can find some decent deals. But I think that you got to look a little bit further out these days to find those. I hope, Kendra, that it is going to start feeling chilly here in a little bit as well. And it sounds like we're going to miss you on the Allure. Oh, but that's all right. You're going to be giving us a report out. And it sounds like you might make it there. Well, if you're going next month, you may be there at the same time we are. We are under a month away from the group cruise on November 3rd, which is crazy to me to believe another one has come and gone. Celebrity Summit, Joe, is doing those weekends. It is doing those weekends. That's the one I think that I've booked a few times as well. Is that this year? Hold on. Well, I don't even have my schedule pulled up. Let me pull that up so that when I'm talking to you all, I can actually give you truth and not just make things up. I'm bad about doing that. What ships am I on? Nope, I'm on Freedom towards the end of this year. I do have a 4-night on the Silhouette. That's what I was thinking of in November. She's doing 4 nights. So that makes a lot more sense. And then when the Reflection starts doing her weekends next year, I'll start doing some of those as well. Hey, we're going to miss you, Justin. You'll have to come for the next one. Yeah, this is going to be interesting for me. The last few times that I've done it, I think that I actually flew up to Orlando because I got some decent prices on Spirit or somebody like that. But I've learned, I have a friend of mine who took the Red Coach, recommends it. The buses look really nice. They were $25 because I, again, booked it in advance. They're business class seats on this bus. So you get plenty of room. You get a tray. They have water. And there's only, I think, like 18 people on it. It doesn't sound like a bad setup. So I will certainly be reporting back on how that goes. And I think I'm staying at like an Econo Lodge, best Western kind of lodge, Red Roof Inn styles, saving some money. But I'll be there for hours. So I am not terribly concerned. But I definitely did everything on the cheap. So Scary, the thing with single occupancy is Royal doesn't have that much. They've got a very limited number of ships that have solo cruises or solo cabins on them. And it is still first come, first serve. When it comes to group space, and I am not the expert on this, that's where I lean on Cohen, the travel agent that we use. I don't even know that solo cabins count towards the group. It's a very odd situation since it's only one person in the room. I'm not sure on that. So let me research that one. Kristen, we will have more for you. We'll get you back over here one of these days. You're still not that far away. That is an easy Silver Airlines flight. Speaking of ways to travel around, I've done Silver. That's like our regional airline or jet line here in South Florida. Hey, Alex from Virginia. So let's transition into this then, Scary. So you watched the video on Crown and Anchor and the status and everything that they're doing there. So let's chat through some of the changes that Royal Caribbean is making these days. And so the first change that just came out, and I'll talk about this one because it's more of a side note, I think, on some thoughts that I have is the Icon class is naming some more ships. So the first Icon class ship is named Icon after, the first ship in the class takes on that name. And so the second one just came out and is now the Star class, or excuse me, not Star class. It is the Star of the Seas. So I'm starting to see a trend here. When they came out with Icon, they always want to have similarities between all of them, whether it's musical or there's some kind of a rhyme or reason to how they're naming these. So you've got Icon, and now you've got the Star of the Seas is going to be the next one, which, by the way, there's already another ship called Star of the Seas. Princess has a star. So I'm putting money down on what the third ship is going to be named. It's probably, if I had to guess, going to be Diva of the Seas. Would not be surprised if they took that name on. Yes, there's absolutely another ship with that name, MSC Divina. But I would easily see it is another, kind of name that means icon. It means a star. You are a diva. I would not be surprised if we saw that as one of the names. I also would not be surprised if we saw like a celebrity of the seas, which would be kind of ironic and kind of funny. But that would be kind of neat. The thing that, I was joking with some friends of mine about is to be able to afford going on the icon class, the icon, the star, whatever the next one's going to be. You almost need to be an icon, a star, or somebody with that kind of wealth and influence to consistently afford these cruise ships, because the prices are at such a premium compared to the other cruise ships that Royal Caribbean has in its fleet. So I just think it's funny. What are some other names? Like, I'm curious, you all, what do you think? If you're thinking of names like celebrity, diva, icon, star, what are some other names like that or synonyms that we can expect some more cruise ships? Because I think the icon class is going to be 4 or 5 ships. I forget how many they committed to, but it's not going to stop at 2. There's definitely more that are going to be coming down the pike. So while you all are telling me that, let's switch into one of the other changes. And this one kind of, I think, flew under the radar some. So the solarium has now changed the age of the solarium from 16 to 18 and older. It has always been an adults area. And honestly, I feel like this is like a non-change. I don't even know why this change was really made or why they made this a thing. I think that they are truly trying to compete with Virgin Voyages and give people more of an adult experience. I think they are absolutely hearing that a lot of us, probably me included in this, you've seen the videos, are saying that Royal is too kid-focused, too family-focused. And some of us feel like we're being, left behind with their new strategies. And so I feel like this is an ever so slight nod to adults belong on the cruise ships on Royal Caribbean by giving them a space, a true adults only. And quite frankly, I didn't know the age was 16 to start with. I'm not sure that I've ever seen it really well enforced. I think of the freedom of the seas, I've never seen anybody asked to leave. Granted, I'm not walking around asking for IDs, and I was trying to think if I've seen a lot of like 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds where that it is a child in the area. And I'm not sure that I really have seen that. I feel like it's been fairly well respected, which kind of surprises me because on the weekend cruises, we get a ton of new sailors. That is who's coming to cruise with Royal Caribbean's weekend sailings, any weekend sailing for that matter, is people who have not done it before. They want to try it out, test the waters. And I don't think you intuitively would know that the solarium is adults only. The sign for it being adults only is like this big, and it's sitting up against the wall. It's not even really on the doors or in an area that people are going to notice it. And even when we do see it, we see so much marketing on the cruise ships these days that we don't necessarily even pay attention to it. We just see a sign and go, oh, there's a sign there, and we don't even read it. So I feel like this was a little bit of a non-change. It was a change, but I feel like it was a non-change. And I don't expect there to be much impact because if somebody is 16, chances of them looking like an 18-year-old or being able to pass like an 18-year-old, I think they're probably going to be able to do it. And I don't see a towel attendant or lifeguard going up to them and asking them to leave at that point. However, the biggest change that they made, and this, I didn't go into too much detail on this in the Crown and Anchor video that I made. And thank you all for, watching that. The video is done really well as, you came with me on a thought experiment, which I love to do. It's just think through what's possible, what's happening, recognizing that change is probably inevitable. Not everybody wants to believe that, but I think that change is going to be, unfortunately, inevitable in this. And so with the biggest change that they made is they have now, I'll say, discontinued the Diamond Lounge. So they have now called it the Crown Lounge. They have renamed it into the Crown Lounge, which actually has a little bit of a ring to it. I don't mind the name whatsoever. But when they start taking Diamond out of the names that are there, now all of a sudden the Crown Lounge can truly be used for absolutely any purpose. There is no reason to keep it to a certain tier or a tier name because there's no tiers that are there. So I think that it really gives Royal Caribbean some flexibility on, who can be admitted into the Crown Lounge. This is going to be me coming out of right field a little bit. I would not be surprised. Maybe I'm just a little jaded at this point with some of the changes. And I didn't go into this in the video because I thought that it was probably a little bit too extreme of a course that Royal would not take. So I'm saying this with a grain of salt, is I would not be surprised if Suite Lounge went away and became the Crown Lounge and they kicked all of us out. I know so many people were thinking through, Diamond may be moved out, Diamond Plus may be moved out, it might be Pinnacle only. I'm going to go even further than that and say we might all be moved out, and they might, take the Suite Lounge, turn it into a Crown Lounge, and then the Suite Lounge or the Crown Lounge on the ship, whichever one it plays out to be, becomes a revenue generating center. They put in a new restaurant. They put in, you all may remember, they did a survey of this probably 6 months ago and asked what kind of activities would we pay more money to do. Axe throwing is the main one that I remember. So who knows? The Suite Lounge could become an axe throwing venue. But that's me going to an extreme. I honestly don't think that that's going to happen, at least not overnight. But there's no reason why it couldn't happen at this point. I think they're really setting themselves up to have a lot of flexibility when it comes to how they're going to utilize the two lounges, if there's even going to be two lounges. Oh, let me grab a little bit of water here. Some common responses that I got on the videos. And so I wanted to chat through these because I first of all, love everybody commenting on the videos. Thank you for doing that. Because it gives me, an idea what everybody's thinking. I certainly don't have all the answers as much as I think I do some days. That's not always the case. But one of the biggest ones was if they remove my status, like I'm Diamond Plus, if they remove my status, I'm going to try other cruise lines. I think that was probably the biggest one that's up there. And I think I go back to the point that I made in the video. I'm thinking through this, and I am now at a place where I've gone on several other cruise lines. I consistently go on other cruise lines. I hit the highest level and I'm still choosing to go on other cruise lines. So I think Royal is, they're kind of okay with us going somewhere else. I think that they, similar to Delta, and I alluded to this, Delta I think got really arrogant because they've been number one in on-time performance. They've got a solid product. And I think that they said that, hey, look, we're going to basically kill our program. We're going to make it very impossible to have status, except for the elite of the elite. And we think you're still going to book us because we're the best that's out there. Yeah, you can go somewhere else. You can sit on those delayed flights if you want to, or you can keep coming here. I think Royal is kind of taking a similar approach. They know that they've got a solid product. I can tell that because I'm looking at the prices they're charging people to go on their cruises now. It's higher than it's ever been. People that don't have status are choosing Royal Caribbean, and people with status are still choosing it even at those higher prices because we think that it's worth it. We think that it's a really good value and it's a solid product, and it is a solid product. So, I mean, first of all, nothing's lifetime. I know I mentioned that in the video. I said that these are lifetime programs, and they currently are. But somebody brought this up and said, hey, maybe it is, maybe it isn't a lifetime program. There is nothing that would stop a corporation from being like, yeah, that was our old program. We're going to scrap it and kind of do something different. Companies, something that I have learned more than once over the years, don't have emotions. They don't have compassion. They want to drive revenue and they want to drive the shareholders' payout that they're giving them. However, they do that. And I think that it's getting pretty ruthless. I mean, they're charging for more things than they've ever charged for these days. Prices have gone up more than they've ever gone up for. Is the trade-off of diminishing their loyalty program worth it to them? Will they still see the revenue? And one person brought up probably my favorite comment in the entire thing and said, hey, Royal Caribbean really diminished their program. They threw their program out the window. They blew it up post-COVID when they did double points and they needed revenue quick. They needed people to be booking those cruises. They basically blew up their program for the short-term gain of surviving post-COVID. Now, I'm not saying that is a right move or a wrong move, but by doing double points, there was exponential growth in their program. And I think many companies did this. This is not something that is unique to Royal Caribbean. I think during COVID, a lot of people rolled over points. They, pushed status out, and now they're finding themselves in a place where everybody has status, and you don't really have any status when everybody has status. The people who used to feel special that really drove revenue at the company don't always do that anymore. So I think this can go in a lot of different directions. But I enjoyed thinking through, what could happen. And a lot of people don't think that the bottom ones are going to go away. I still go to, they might still have a gold tier. They might have an emerald tier if they keep those. I think having 6 already is way too many for a loyalty program. Most of them stay under 4. They might still give you a tier. They might still give you a status ranking. But I honestly believe whatever they're going to call it, if they call it anything, they are going to devalue those tiers tremendously. I just can't see them putting any kind of perks behind those. I know a lot of people really wanted to hit those. They wanted to strive for those. I remember when I was coming up and I was going through them, like, it is exciting. But I think that the situation that they've created, they have to find a way to dig themselves out a little bit. And I think that might unfortunately be one of the downstream impacts to their loyalty program. And I think the same is true over on Celebrity. So when I, traveled on Celebrity, when I talk to people on Celebrity, they are having the same exact conversations on their cruise line, on the Captain's Club, that we're having over here on Royal Caribbean's Crown and Anchor Society. It is the same exact conversation. So I think that there's that opportunity for both of those programs to change. They're already fairly similar now in the tier structure, at least. The way that they award points and award status, completely different. I think if anything, the Crown and Anchor needs to look more like the Captain's Club. If they do consolidate and don't change anything, the Captain's Club is probably going to win out. And that will give the Royal Caribbean folks the ability to go through, because they know you can go and actually ask. I don't know if you all knew this. You can ask the loyalty ambassador, even somebody to get services, to print your entire history of every cruise that you've gone on. I did this one time. My spreadsheet and my points got thrown off, and I could not for the life of me figure out where I missed a point or where something wasn't awarded. And they gave me a printout of literally every cruise and when I'd ever been on it, what cabin type I had, how many points I got. It was actually really fascinating. I probably should do that again just to, have a record of it. But they have all of that information. So if they need to go through and redo something, they can do that. And if you all will remember, I'm going to go back to you old timers now that have been out there for a while. There was another program before we had the Crown and Anchor Society, a different way of figuring out those points. No, again, not the best structure they had, because you got points based on going on a cruise. If you went on a cruise, you got a point. If you went on a 3-night, you got a point. If you went a 7-night, you got a point. They scrapped that, and there was a conversion they did. Some people it worked out well for, some people it didn't. So it's also not something they've done before. They have absolutely scrapped their program and kind of started again. And I think that might be the easiest way to go versus trying to play this game of still having a diamond status, but raising the threshold of it or devaluing it. I think it might be easiest for Royal just to kind of say, let's start again and try something else different. And again, nothing could ever come of this. This is me just hypothesizing with all of you. So thank you for, I feel like, letting me ramble on about this. So we'll see if anything comes of it, but I don't know that it will, that it won't, but it sounds like things are starting to change. We're starting to see, different benefits be removed or taken away or devalued. So I would not be surprised if something changed. I actually really would like if Celebrity and Royal merged their programs and had the same program. So regardless if I went on Royal or Celebrity, I still earned cumulative points. I personally would really like that. I think that would benefit me, because as I've been cruising for a while now, my cruising style has changed. And I think a lot of people, we start with Royal Caribbean. It is a great cruise line. It is a good cruise line to start on, to go on. But then, I'm getting a little bit older. I'm not as young. I'm not as in the party crowd. And I kind of want more of that relaxing vibe that celebrity is stereotyped to have. And so I think that they could almost come up with a stair step system on, you start with Royal Caribbean, you bring the kids here, and then as you age and you get your kids a little bit older, maybe you're retired, or maybe you're just like me and you're an old soul, there's a natural progression and a way to keep us in house within the RCI group family, which I think would be really great. Having the status match or reciprocal agreement, I should say, between royal and celebrity not be a full status match is also kind of a little bit malarkey. Like, I don't understand why they chose to limit that out on celebrity. It probably was for similar conversation we're having now to limit the number of people in those higher echelons. But I think that that's just a little bit of a cop out and being a little bit on the cheap side. That's why I think if they merge the program, they'd actually have a chance of keeping a lot more people around, because there's not that many folks in the market these days. Like, even if we were to go somewhere else, you've got Royal, Celebrity, Norwegian, Carnival, MSC. Kind of think that's it. Disney, that's more of a premium cruise line. Virgin is a premium cruise line. You've got different cruise lines that I think are, if you want to pay an extra $500 to $1,000, you can go that route. But I think, if they were to combine Royal and Celebrity, they've got a good chunk of the market right there. And we might still be able to stick with, the brand that we prefer. So I'm going to stop talking about that. I feel like I went on way too long about that. I'm clearly very passionate about the Crown and Anchor program or loyalty programs in general. So let me come back over to the comments and see what all you are thinking of. Tony, I'm going to go back on this one because I think this is a good question. And I debated this. So for the group cruise, if I had Virgin in there, you would have voted for Virgin. But I don't know that Virgin is a good group cruise because the way their restaurants are, that really gives me a lot of pause. I've seen, you'd have to do essentially multiple tables at the community table. It could be done. They also don't have true weekends. The one that I just got off of was a Wednesday night to a Sunday, which I don't personally prefer. They do have holiday weekends sometimes. I can get a 5-nighter where it leaves on Friday, Monday's a holiday, Bahamas on Tuesday, and then I come back Wednesday morning. That's my ideal one. It's also a much higher price point. And I'm not sure everybody on here is game for a higher price point, but let me I'll throw that into a poll question real quick. Let me know if you all would consider Virgin for a group cruise. It's probably not going to be my first one, but I'd love to see where you all are at. And that's just an easy yes/no question. I'm going to keep going through here as that tallies up a little bit. You never know, Tony. I show up in the strangest of places sometimes. I go on different ships and people are like, what are you doing here? Like, I ran into one lady, I still remember, over in the Mediterranean. She was like, you have a YouTube channel, right? I was like, oh yeah. She's like, this is not a weekend cruise. She was like, this is a 7-night out of Italy. Like, what are you doing over here? So I do get to travel around every now and again, Tony. So you never know. Jacoby, let me know what you think of the summit. I'm excited to be able to go on the summit and do some 4 nights on celebrity. Are you real or AI? Java, I am absolutely all real. I've thought about doing like a fake background back here simply because you all are literally just seeing my Peloton bike. That is the only thing in the shot. So I've thought about switching that out and making it more interesting, but I'm kind of lazy sometimes. And that seems like a lot of work. So Sig, this is an interesting one. So some people love to plan. I am personally a planner, and I've got on kind of my spreadsheet possibilities for group cruises. But not everybody else is a planner, and that's taken me a while to get. I almost feel like I need to do a group cruise 3 months out, and I need to do a group cruise further out. But I think you're going to start seeing me do multiple cruises. What I'd love to do, and one reason why I'm asking so many questions now, Sig, is if I can come through and say, here's the schedule for 2023. So we can do some, like 3 different group cruises. I think that's a good number. And we can take it from there. So I'd love to be able to plan it out, have some diversity to it, do different cities or ports, do different cruise lines. A lot of good options there. And I can hopefully get to meet a lot of you by varying it up and, going more where you're at. Margaritaville at Sea Can, if you've not looked at the prices, I actually looked at them this weekend. I have a buddy of mine who I'm surprised I haven't seen in the chat yet, saying he was going on it as a solo person. I think it was like $89 a night, or for 2 nights, it was $89, double occupancy, 160. Still not a bad price at all. Haven't heard back if he's enjoyed that experience yet, if it is worth the $160, but it's something we can certainly look into. Let me know, Joe, what you think of the silhouettes. I got it booked in 2025. So, Aaron, I don't necessarily talk about my day job on here. In my opinion, these two worlds should never meet. This is my fun job. So I come here to talk about cruises. I don't want to think about work. So I normally don't share too much there. The ship and itinerary for the group cruise. So I can flash that back up. November 3rd is your birthday. We can certainly sing happy birthday to you. That is something we can do. So the group cruise is November 3rd on the Allure of the Seas. You do have to book through the travel agent, who is Cohen. And there's a JotForm down below. Just fill out your name and best contact information for him, and he will get up with you to go over what that pricing is. 3 back-to-back cruises. Now I'm impressed. That will be an amazing time. I'm kind of jealous on that. Idol of the Seas. That one could work. When I hear idol, though, I still think of a religious terminology. So I'm not sure how that would go. I mean, it might be apropos for the situation for some folks. But that would be an interesting one. But it could be. It absolutely could be. Oh, Java, love of the seas. I don't know that plays into well, but that's a really cute name. It sounds like a princess name because of the love boat. But I could totally see that. Hey, Adam, welcome to the chat. Just 3 now. I wouldn't be surprised if they upped that. There's still these rumors, and this is, again, me being a little jaded on the Discovery class, on this small class ship, that they're going to go back and start making smaller ships with Royal Caribbean. I'm not going to buy that until I see it. Kind of like Hideaway Beach. Corporate was telling us it was going to be complimentary. It was going to be free for the adults, and now they're charging us for it. And I never believed that either. I also don't believe Royal Caribbean is going to start making smaller ships. I will believe it when I see it. Their MO for every ship that they have made for the last 20 years is to be bigger, be more. And I don't see them going down. I can see maybe Celebrity doing that. I can't see Royal wanting to do that. Scary. I'm not going to disagree. If you're going to call it an adults only section, let's make it 21 plus and have only the people in there who can legally drink alcohol and have that kind of a good time. I think that probably was a good idea. Java, no kids. I will tell you that the adults on the weekend cruise, at least, they are all over that hot tub in the solarium. I have seen, I should count one day, 30 some people in the hot tub. It is amazing how many people we can fit in there. Yeah, I think they will change the policy for the solarium based on how many kids are on board. If they see that there's just that many kids on board, they'll change it. Kristen, me and you are very similar here. I think a lot of people believe because you go on a lot of cruises, clearly you love being in the sun, you love being in the pool, you love being in the hot tub. I can probably count 10 times in all of my cruises that I have been in the pool or the hot tub. It's just not something that I do either, so I can totally get on board with that. I mean, I don't think axe throwing is going to be their top tier thing. It is such a novelty, but the axe throwing that I did one time in Philadelphia, interestingly enough, we were able to bring a cooler of beer with us. I did not drink at the time, so I didn't partake, but we were able to bring a cooler with us. It was very interesting. Legend of the Seas. Robert, I like that. Think they're going to be hashing up one of the old or a throwback name for Royal Caribbean, because I never got a chance to go on Legend of the Seas when she was out. That was before my time, so that could totally do it. Seas of the Seas. This is giving me a remembrance. I'm going to do a plug for a Facebook group that I've not looked at. There is a Facebook group that exists out there that I learned about through the Pinnacle Facebook group called Entitlement of the Seas. And I thought just the name of it was hilarious. So if you want to check out Entitlement of the Seas and see people complaining about the way other people complain, It's like a reply all kind of message, in my opinion. You can certainly check that out. Adam, that's exactly why I've not been on Princess yet. Is they've got a lot of longer sailings, which isn't bad, but I don't get an opportunity to do too terribly many of them. But people tell me I'd love Princess, and they've got a very loyal following. So I will certainly make it there one day. Java, their marketing is trying to tell me that I am ready for it, but I'm not quite sure that I am a Holland guy just yet. They also, like Princess, don't have a lot of short cruises. Holland America doesn't do weekends. Princess does not do weekends. So chances of seeing me on one of those will probably be slim to none for a while. I think this was my biggest point in that video is, companies are incentivized to track revenue these days. And we give so much revenue, or have the opportunity, I should say, to give so much revenue in so many different ways to the cruise lines. It would make sense if they started building an ecosystem. The one person did point out in the comments, which rightly so, was that I mentioned credit card spend, which is a huge thing for the airline industry. But airlines are domestic airlines. You don't really see people loyal to Delta or people loyal to American Airlines when they live in France, when they live in Canada, Australia. You don't normally see that too much. For cruise lines, on the other hand, you absolutely will see people in Canada, in Australia, in the UK loyal to certain cruise lines that, they wouldn't be able to take part in the credit card spend because credit in other places is completely different. By the way, this is one place I'm not sure the US gets it right with the way we do credit. I think other countries probably do it better, and people don't get themselves in as much trouble with credit card debt. But that is a side note. So I would not be surprised if they went this direction. And knowing how much I cruise and credit, I'm not a huge spender these days. You all are hearing the amount that I'm paying for going on my cruises. I'm not sure that me thinking that this is going to happen will benefit me. That's the interesting part about me thinking about this is I'm still throwing my status under the bus as well because I haven't spent that much with cruise lines. I'm booking $300 cruises. I don't pay for specialty restaurants too much because it's crazy expensive now. I don't buy the internet because it's complimentary with Royal. Even on Virgin, it was $30. So I don't know that I'm going to win too well on that. Java, going back to the question, let's see how many people. Interesting. You all would be game for a Virgin sailing. It is 52% would be into Virgin. I'm very shocked to hear that. I would have thought you all would want not as much to do with them, but I've got a video coming out actually that talks about how Virgin Voyages is really just normal cruisers these days. I won't go into details now and spoil the video for you all, but I cannot walk around a Virgin Voyage ship anymore and say that, oh, these people come on Virgin and this is what makes it different. I see the same crowd that I would see on Royal Caribbean, that I'd see on Celebrity, that I think Carnival would have. It is the same exact people. And so I think that there is more people who are open to going on Virgin Voyages than there ever has been. And I think that poll proves it for me. Okay, we can do this. I actually just saw a number where Virgin has 40 solo cabins on their ship, which I think is the winner for the cruise ship with the most solo cabins. And I've not verified that number, but if they have 40 solo cabins, that is a lot. I will say that their solo cabins are normally about 150% of double occupancy. It is not, you paying for just one person. I don't know if the rooms are a little bit bigger or why they do that, but I haven't always found where the cabin makes a lot of sense. At that point, I'll just pay a little bit more and get like a true room. City of the Seas could work. That would be a neat name. City on the Seas. I mean, they might even, get a little creative with the second word there. Tony, I'm not sure that this is my version of making friends. You might catch a lot more than, just friends in that kind of a hot tub with 30 people in it. So Catkins, I have not fully switched over at this point. So I was going to make a video about this and I haven't done it because I've just had so many other great content ideas to make, but I think I am officially a free agent at this point. As much as I have been loyal to Royal in the past, I've experienced other cruise lines that have really enjoyed other cruise lines. And this month alone, in October, I'm going to go on 4 different cruise lines. I'm going to be on Royal, I'm going to be on Celebrity, I'm going to be on MSC, and I'm going to be on Virgin Voyages all in 1 month, which is crazy. And so I'm really just booking wherever I want to go, wherever I'm getting a good deal that I think is going to be a good time. That's kind of where I'm going. So I've not fully switched to any line. And this was actually only my, I think, 5th sailing on Virgin Voyages. I'd absolutely go again. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be next year before I make it back to Virgin Voyages. Sounds like a great time on NCL. I need to go over to NCL one day just to see what it's like. I think that, Tony, let me know in the comments, I think that NCL probably is the most equitable to Royal Caribbean. So when I think of Royal Caribbean's brand and NCL's brand, I see them being very similar together. Scary, thank you for the super sticker, the super chat. Greatly appreciated. I always appreciate anything that you all do. So this is very well thought of. Thank you, Scary. Legend was not a good ship. She was also, when was Legend built? 89, 90? Somebody who's got more cruise knowledge than me, let me know in the comments. But Legend was an old ship. I think she's still around, actually. I think she's still sailing. I don't know if it's with TUI or she got sold over to somebody else, but I think she's still out there. Again, somebody with more cruise knowledge than me, let me know. But I'm pretty sure it's TUI if I had to guess. Or what's the other? No, not Main Shift. It's probably TUI, if I had to guess. You know, and I've only done Carnival once. My first cruise ever was on Carnival back in 2009, I think is when it was, on the Fantasy. One of the rockiest cruises I've ever been on because I think it was just such an old ship, didn't have stabilizers. It was kind of all over the place. Good to know. So I'm not wrong in that they're similar. Liberty is a little bit dated. I've been there a few times this year, but good to know. All right, so let's switch into the next topic here. So I've got in here dramatic closing of a show on Virgin Voyages. So I went on Virgin Voyages 2 weeks ago. And while being on Virgin Voyages, we wanted to go see Ship Show, one of the shows that they do on their ship. And it's an actually really good show. I've seen it before, was looking forward to seeing it again. And so we went, I think it was supposed to start at 7 o'clock is when it was supposed to start. We're sitting there. We showed up early. You all know I like getting a good seat. And the show, you know, showtime came. We're still sitting there. That's fine. Virgin normally runs 2 to 3 minutes later on their shows. Then we got to 5 minutes past, and you know, my friend that I went with on this, saying this was my birthday cruise, I said, hey, if we were on a Royal ship, this show would already be going. Like, they start on time on Royal. Like, this is kind of odd that it's now 7:05 and they've not started. We sat there for 15 more minutes. Show still hasn't started. And then 25 minutes into it, I'm like, well, we're going to miss our dinner reservation, even if we stay for this thing. And on Virgin Voyages, your dinner reservation is everything. Like, you need to make sure that you get your dinner reservations and that you keep that dinner reservation if you like the time, because it is very tough to reschedule that or get an accommodation to do something different. So we actually got up and left because they still hadn't started 25 minutes into the show. We left and I was like, we're just go on to dinner. And come to find out, we ran into some other people like 5 or 10 minutes later. They're like, as soon as you guys left, they canceled the show. Technical difficulties, they couldn't do it. So that's fine. You know, we didn't miss anything. And so we were planning on, you know, not seeing the show that had been canceled. And they sent us a text message. Virgin is really good at using their app. Their app is not great, by the way. If you think Royal Caribbean's is buggy, try out Virgin Voyages or MSC's app. They are by no means, they're in a different league of bad. But the good thing that they do on Virgin Voyages is they'll send you messages, notifications on the app. And so they said, hey, we've got a 10 o'clock showing of Ships in the Night. Come see it. We've still got seats left. Because I think they just assumed that it was fully booked up in the app and that a lot of us from the earlier show just said, we're going to have to miss it because they canceled our show. So they invited us in. We went in, got decent seats, not the best because we showed up like 5 minutes before. It started on time, which was fantastic. Everything was going great. I was there, shooting my footage so I can come back and show you all some of the shows. And they're going through, and they got to probably the third or fourth scene. And, I think this is a tribute to me going on a lot of cruises to know when things are off a little bit. But they're going through the motions. Most people were on the stage. One of their dancers came out. He hit his mark, and I could see him just doing this number. Like his eyes were erratically moving around. And I could tell that he was trying to tell the cast members, the other folks, like, what is going on? Like, it's not making sense. I didn't know at the time what was happening because I just didn't know. But I could tell that his eyes were erratically moving. Something was up. They went on for maybe another 10, 15 seconds. And then all of a sudden, one of the female performers on the left-hand side just raises her arms and makes an X for everybody and says something, gets the lead performer's attention, and he sees her making the X. And he also signals this quick X. And they worked really quickly. As soon as those X's went up, the announcements started coming on we're stopping the show due to an injury of one of our cast members. We're going to pause the show and we're going to check on them. Very soon after that, within a minute, they were clearing the stage, curtains were coming down, and the next announcement was that was due to a cast member being injured. They needed to cancel the show. It could not go on. So we did not get to see, we still get to see Ships in the Night on this. But what had happened, to tell you the backstory of it, we got to talk with one of the cast members later. Very unfortunate situation. So with the technical difficulties that they had, they still wanted the show to go on. Bless them, they wanted to give us a show. And so they reconfigured the stage to make up for this technical difficulty. I don't know if there was something wasn't moving or something wasn't going where they wanted it to. They reconfigured the walls behind the stage so that they could still make everything happen. And there was one of the performers who was going through the motion. She had gone off the stage, and it's a very quick show. There's a lot of momentum. They're running, they're off stage for a little bit, and then they shoot back on. She had gone off stage, was going through the motions, and she ran back on stage, forgetting that they had moved the walls around and ran directly into the wall. Not knocking herself out, but really giving herself quite the injury, it sounded like, to the point that the performers could actually hear her crying in the background. We could not hear that from the audience ourselves. I'm finding this out secondhand. So they knew that something was wrong with her and went to check on her, luckily. And that's when they canceled the show. They'd even practiced it. I think they knew that they needed to practice where their new spots were, their new steps were going to be. And I think she just got in her head, because they've done this show hundreds of times at this point. The cast has been on there for a while. I think she was going through the motions, just forgot, slipped up, and went straight into the wall. I mean, I can't even imagine. So I'm glad that they did the right thing. They stopped the show, got her the medical treatment that she needed. I thought that was amazing that they did that. Hated we didn't get to see the show. I did go back this past weekend, and I finally did get to see the show. I even told some of the cast members that I was there for that sailing. They were like, oh gosh, like, so sorry about that. So they couldn't be nicer about everything. But I'm glad that they did the right thing. I got to see it later on. If you have not seen Ship's Show, see it on Virgin Voyages. It is a wonderful show and extremely talented performers. And the thing that I like about it, you all have seen the shows on Royal Caribbean, on Celebrity, on MSC. They're doing similar shows, if you will. It's a similar format. You go into a theater, you watch the show that goes on, but the dancing that they do, the way that they do their shows is contemporary. It's modern dance. It's modern jazz style dance. It's not an old school, and they are dancers. Like, they're really good. They also do a great job of they've got some LED panels and walls. Because it's a newer ship, they built that into it to make some really neat effects in this show. So if you are going on Virgin Voyages, make sure you're checking out the Ship Show. It is a fantastic show, and I'm really glad that I got to see it for a second time while I was there this past week. Let's come back over to the comments, see what all you've got as I drink some water. Alan. So somebody with more knowledge than me. The ship will be renamed TUI Discovery 2 and joined the Thompson fleet. That is Legends of the Seas in May 2007. So I guess it is part of TUI after all. TUI, I don't know if you all know this, it is actually 49%, 51% owned by Royal Caribbean International. So we don't talk about it a lot. It's not an American brand, and you certainly probably will not see a lot of Americans on it. It is a Spanish brand, where Spanish is the prominent language there. But you don't hear much about that when we talk about RCI. We'll talk about Royal, we'll talk about Celebrity, even Silver Seas, you'll hear a little bit. But Silver Seas, we still don't talk about the same as we talked about Azamara. When Azamara was on RCI's books, I heard a lot more about it, but I don't hear that much with Silver Seas. And I don't know why that is. If it's more of a stretch up than some of the other ones, I'm not sure about that. And while I am thinking about it, if you've not pressed the like button already in this chat, in this live conversation that we're having, especially if you've been here from the beginning, go ahead and press that live button. If you've hung in there with us from now, not live button, press the like button. I can tell I've been doing this for almost an hour now. My words are starting to escape me. You all, I mean, so I was making videos this week, and I'll give you a little behind the scenes, and then Sig, I'll come to your comment here. And I was so frustrated with myself. I was on Virgin ship making the A roll. So that's me doing the talking head that you see. And I could not for the life of me get my words to come out. I was like, why is this so complicated? I almost wanted to do like some blooper reels, but there may or may not have been too many explicitives in a lot of those outtakes for me to use. And I'm not one who, uses explicitives. Like, it just is normally not my thing. I equate it to how people get into road rage. Like, you'll be driving down the street and you might not normally use explicitives, but when you're driving, there's just something that it brings it out in you. I'm the same way when I'm making videos and I can't get my words out. When I get tongue-tied or say things, and I get so frustrated with myself sometimes, and I'll let some explicitives go. It's just, so I choose to cut those out and keep my goody-goody image on here, if you will, or to what extent I think I may have any kind of a good image. So Sig, yes, Version has a great app in response to issues immediately. I wouldn't say it's a great app. I think it is a very buggy app. It does a lot of different things than Royal Caribbean, but it's got all sorts of bugs in it. It crashes on me. I've got to be in airplane mode to make sure that I use it. There's all sorts of issues I have with it. But it looks like you had a complaint. You put it in the app and they responded. That is actually neat. I haven't tried doing that, but that would be really neat to see if Royal Caribbean could do that. They've got an app. I'm sure that it could give feedback, and you just need somebody at guest relations to be able to reply to them. And it'd probably be quicker than somebody actually walking and standing in the line. You all know that the lines, especially when you start talking about the second to last and the last night, are crazy at guest services with people paying their tabs. Vicky, I thought the same exact thing for the cast. I was like, you guys have had every issue possible come up tonight for the show. Like, you have been put through the absolute ringer on that show. Like, it was crazy. Absolutely. Third time was certainly a charm with this one. Jacoby, if you've done Virgin for Christmas again, what did you think? Was that a good experience? Did they decorate? I've not been over there before. I have to assume that they do decorate their ship a little bit. I don't know if they do it a month out like Royal Caribbean does or not, but they've got some decent spaces. That roundabout that Virgin Voyages has, it's kind of like their, I'm blanking on the name of it. That section in smaller classes within Royal Caribbean where they've got the staircase and it goes all the way up, not the Esplanade, not the Promenade. That is somebody help me out in the comments so that I'll know what this is, because it's going to bug me. It's normally where the champagne bar is at. But anyway, I think the roundabout would be a beautiful spot to decorate for the holidays. I think they could do a lot of really cool stuff in that center location that they've got there. That would be really neat. Thank you, Tony. It is the Centrum is the word that I was going for. Clearly, I've not been on an older class of ship in a while. I'm kind of missing it. Thank you, Beth. Yes, you know what it is as well. Jacoby, I can't believe that I couldn't remember that. Words sometimes, this is why I get frustrated if those explicitives come out. Luckily, I don't do those on live. On lives, you hear normal Brandon. There's just something about when I press record on the camera that it brings out on me. Java, see you. Have a good night. All right, and the last thing I wanted to talk about, I'll take another sip. is I meet a lot of you on the ships, and I started this off earlier talking about meeting you all. I think on the last, not this version of Voyage of Sailing, but the prior version of Sailing, and this blew me away. There were 12 different groups of people that came up and said hello to me on a 4-night sailing on a non-Royal Caribbean ship. I feel like on Royal, I probably have more of a presence. That's where 80% of my videos probably have come from or deal with is Royal Caribbean. That's been my cruise line. So I'm always shocked when I go to other cruise lines and people recognize me. And I hear all the time when people come up and say hi that, they just, they don't want to be awkward. They just want to come up and say hi, get a selfie, get to know me a little bit. And I love it. I truly enjoy meeting people on the ship. So if you ever see me on the ship, make sure that you say hello. And I get that you're going to be awkward. And I really get it now. And you're going to feel a little awkward. Because I got to meet somebody that I actually follow on a cruise ship. And I even told him, I was like, I'm going to have to talk about this on my channel because people are always apologizing for coming up and saying hi to me. And I went up to him and said hello and introduced myself and that I follow him. So his name is Mike Matthews. I don't know if you all have heard him. He's been made famous with a book called Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. I was on Facebook, as one does, looking through some posts, and a friend of mine posted his book and kind of the transformation that he went through. And I said, you know what? That sounds like something that I could do. I was not really in the gym at that point, wanted a strategy to make sure that I was staying healthy and going to be able to cruise for a long period of time. Going on a lot of cruise ships, it is easy to fall into very unhealthy habits and routines. And I saw Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, wanted to read it, wanted to take it. And it was a book that honestly made a ton of sense to me. And he's very science-based, very fact-based. A lot of fitness influencers out there, and I would consider him to be a fitness influencer, hype up different things because they kind of just want to. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And he's really grounded himself in the science and saying things that are true. People might not want to hear it all the time, but it's fantastic. And so I looked, his book, just this one book, and he's got multiple books out there, Mike Matthews, that is, he sold 600,000 copies of this. He is a big deal. He's got 125,000 followers on YouTube, about the same number on Instagram, which is crazy to me. And so I went through the same process that I imagine many of you go through sometimes, is I saw him just in passing. We were on Virgin Voyages. I should say what ship we were on. We were on Virgin Voyages, Scarlet Lady. And I saw him walking in the galley, and I was like, that kind of looks like him. But I was like, it can't be. Like, there's no way that, this guy would be here. And I saw him around a few times more, and I was like, I think that that's him. So we went over to Gunnabee, which is the Korean restaurant. My first time going to Gunnabee on Virgin Voyages. As many of you know, it is a Korean barbecue joint, and you have to share a table. So if you're a solo cruiser, or if you're even with 2-3 people, you're going to have to share a table. I honestly just didn't want to go through the awkwardness of being a solo cruiser at a group like that. So I hadn't been, but I had a friend with me on this sailing, went there, and Mike was there as well. And so I saw him walking back and forth. I could tell he was part of 2 different tables. And I was like, I think that that's him. And I was like, to my friend, I was like, I think this is Mike Matthews. And I pulled up a picture of him. And funny thing is, from his, I think it was his Instagram account, or maybe it was his Facebook group, he was wearing a white shirt in a post that he had made like 2 or 3 days before. He was in the exact same shirt on the cruise ship. And I was like, that is definitely him then. Because I mean, literally, I had the exact same outfit on the guy that was here, looked very similar. I thought it was him, and here we are wearing the same clothes. And I was like, yeah, that's Mike. So I still hadn't said hello. I didn't want to go and interrupt the dinner. And which, by the way, I don't mind if you all do that. If you want to come up to me at dinner, it's totally fine. Normally, it's just me sitting by myself anyway. So if you want to come say hi, you can do that. But I didn't do that. I could see that he was with a large group. But I had gone to work out at like 3 p.m. I go at off-peak time. If you want to go to the gym on a cruise ship and you want to go before 10 o'clock, before 11 o'clock, it's going to be packed. I don't recommend it. Cruise ship gyms are small. People want to go in there and superset and take up 2 or 3 pieces of equipment when there's 30 people trying to work out. Don't recommend it. But I was there at 3 o'clock, and as luck would have it, so was Mike. He's a fitness influencer, so seeing him in the gym should not have been a shock to me, but it kind of was. And so I certainly went up to him and I joked with him. He's got a supplement company where he sells protein, pre-workout, post-workout, all that great stuff. And I went up to him and was like, hey, I've got a bottle of Legion up in the room if you forgot yours. And that's one of the supplements. Legion's the company name. But one of the supplements that he sells was like, I've got mine up in the room if you forgot yours. Just making a little bit of a joke. So he knew that I recognized him and followed him. And he was a super nice guy. I mean, we talked in between sets, got to know each other as much as one can in between sets at a gym for one visit. But it was really neat to be able to experience, I think, what a lot of you experience. So I can put myself in your shoes and relate a little bit more as I am still getting used to being recognized. It's still a little bit awkward. I love it. And I love meeting you all, not being recognized all the time, but I love meeting people and talking to you and hearing your stories from the channel, what you've thought of it. Has been really great for me. And it kind of reminds me why I do this channel is, because it's really easy when you do YouTube and you do social media to only see this side of the camera, to only, think about I'm recording a video, I'm editing a video, I'm uploading a video, I post the video and it's done. And to forget that there are people on the other side of this video who are watching this content, who are getting something out of it, who are choosing their cruises based on the content, who are, I remember one lady, the first time it ever happened to me, it was my COVID journey, which a lot of you probably seen the COVID videos. They were, kind of what catapulted this channel. And she came up to me, she was like, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, I have anxiety around COVID and just normal anxiety. And I couldn't come on a cruise because I had so much anxiety about it. But by you sharing your story of how it went, what happened, and me being able to see and understand, like, if I do get COVID, it's not the end of the world. It's going to be okay. Allowed her to actually be able to come on the cruise and enjoy it. And that was one of the more impactful times that I've talked with somebody. But I love those kind of stories. That's what truly gives me energy to come up here and work on videos day after day, because it is certainly more work than I ever thought that I would do with it. But I am loving it. And I can assure you, I am in this for the long run, mainly because of you all. So I will thank you for being you, for coming to the Weekend Cruiser, especially coming to these lives. It is a different form of content, but I love being able to connect with you all. So that is my last topic. Oh, I wanted to share a picture. So, of course, all right, let me come back over here to the comments. Oh, Beth, you've had a chance to meet him as well. He actually lives in Florida. Who knew? Maybe we can get him on one of the group cruises one of these days to come with us. Give us all some fitness classes. I know I miss the Centrum as well, Beth. I think Centrums, I like a Centrum. I'm going to say it. I like a Centrum better than I like a Promenade. I like a Centrum. It is just more elegant. There's something about it that is just, I like it. A Promenade to me, which I still like a Promenade, but it feels more like a mall than it does a cruise ship. A Centrum feels like a cruise ship to me, and that's why I really like it. Tony, thank you. I love it. I mean, even one person on the version we're just saying this time, she was like, I know you say on your vlog to come say hello, but I'm still nervous. Please come say hello. I love it. So I definitely appreciated being able to meet you on the cruise as well, Tony. And I'm that type of person that now that I've met people in person and I see people in the comments, people talking, it's much easier to connect it. Though I recognize even people I haven't, if you are commenting consistently, I actually start to recognize names. It's the craziest thing. I do respond to every single comment. I read every single comment. And at some point, I start seeing who's commenting all the time. It's kind of neat. Thank you, Sarah. This is a cruise ship shirt, one that I bought from Royal Caribbean when I was in one of their shops. Brett, always my pleasure. Welcome to the live stream. I think this is your first comment. I'm used to seeing a lot more of you. Speaking of referencing or noticing people who comment, Brett often comments as well. So hey there, Brett. Yeah, Beth, the first time I walked into an Oasis class ship, and I'm trying to remember which Oasis class ship it was. It must have been Harmony of the Seas, probably, if I had to guess. Walked onto that ship, and it brings you in directly into the Royal Promenade. And I was looking around, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is legitimately a mall. It is so wide. It is so expansive. It was insane. So I've learned to like them, but it's certainly not always my go-to. I take a Centrum any day of the week. All right, so that is it for all the topics that I have. If you all have questions, I'll hang tight for a little bit longer. Would love to just chat with you if there's anything on your mind, something you want to ask about. We can certainly chat through those. If you got a cruise coming up, want some advice, I am always down to chat and see. Let's start with Cruising with Cliff here. Will I be on the Icon? No. I have absolutely no desire to be on the Icon of the Seas. And I think I even made, this is the video that I made with, did I title it? I think we're drifting apart. Talk about me and Royal Caribbean. Because they keep designing these Icon type ships that are bigger, better, all about families. And it's just not, that's not my cruising style. And the price that they are charging for Icon, I've looked at it. Number one, it's doing a lot of 7 nights, so it's tough for me to find one I can get on. But the price, oh my goodness, is crazy. It is such a premium that 1 7 night, I could turn around and do 2 weeks on another ship for the same exact price. I am, and I talk about this a little bit on the channel, I am maniacal about my budget when it comes to cruising. And everything to me is, okay, if I buy this, how much of a cruise is that? Or if I make this much money, how many cruises can I buy with that? If I pay for Icon of the Seas, I've got to not go on another trip or several. I mean, I can do one Icon Seas for the cost of probably 4 weekends at this point, if not more. So until the prices come down, I will probably do it one day as a check the box exercise, because I keep telling myself I want to go on all Royal Caribbean ships. I'm at like 80% right now, I think. I think I've been on, hold on, I've got a spreadsheet for this too. That is in my spreadsheet. Let me take a quick look at how many ships I have been on or have not been on. I am missing a lot of the Quantum because they're over in Asia or West Coast. So I've not done the Ovation, not done Quantum, not done Spectrum, not done Odyssey. Oasis class, interestingly, I've never done Symphony. That's the only one I'm missing there. I've done all of the Freedom class, all of Voyager class, except for Voyager, which is coming to the US. I think it's coming to Port Canaveral or something, Fort Lauderdale in 2025. So I'll be able to get on her. Radiance, I've done all 4 except for the Radiance class itself, again, West Coast. And Vision class, I've not done Rhapsody. And the Sovereign classes are all gone at this point, Majesty and Empress, but I did them as well. So actually, I'm at 73%. Does this have Wonder on it? It does not have Wonder. So I need to adjust my ratios here. I've done Wonder of the Seas. Actually, it does have Wonder. So good, it is updated. I've done 73%. So I've sailed on 19 of the cruise ships, and the current fleet size is 26. I think that is accurate. Let me check, just make sure I'm not including those. Yes, current fleet size is 26. So I'll get there all in time. But there's so many cruise ships out there, and you know I love a good cruise ship model collection. So I'm excited to try more of those. I'm going on another ship this weekend. I'm going on MSC's Seascape. That is where I'm off to next. So I'm doing a lot more with MSC these days because their price is right. And the not Seascape, Seaside. I'm doing Seaside. They named those way too close. Seaside, Seaview, Seascape. Like, I can't keep them apart. But I'm going up there, gonna have a great time. But that ship is the same class as Freedom of the Seas. It's a little bit newer, I think, but it's the same as a Freedom class. So I'm really excited. If I love Freedom as much as I do, it's the Goldilocks size for me. I'm really interested to see what MSC's take is on that size class ship. Thoughts on Royal building smaller than ships? It's not going to happen. So I talked about this a little bit earlier. The rumor mill, and I think this came from a captain's corner, and captains are notorious for getting incorrect information. They'll leave a tidbit and they share it wanting to front run the information some. But they were saying that it's going to be called the Discovery class. I will believe it when I see it. I might be a little bit jaded. I might just not think things like that happen. But Royal, for the last 20 years, every ship has always been bigger. That I just don't see that changing. I also don't see smaller ships in their pricing model being successful and being profitable. I think for a smaller ship to be profitable these days, it needs to be a premium or a luxury cruise line. So I can see maybe an offshoot of Celebrity doing this, or maybe more Silver Seas cruises doing this. But I don't see Royal Caribbean's family-centric, multi-generational strategy playing out to a smaller ship these days. It doesn't work. You know, I remember my video I did on April Fools, where I said Royal should split in half. Royal was splitting in half. I still think that that's a wonderful idea. If you took the bottom, let's say 8 ships, you can make another cruise line out of it. Make those be maybe adults only. Make them be a premium cruise line. There's a lot that they could do with it. And you would only lose about 15% of the capacity of Royal Caribbean because the big ships are so large. So just some neat things to think about, but I do not see smaller ships in Royal Caribbean's future. Maybe in some of the other ones, but I don't see that happening. You know, I am doing Utopia. I am going to do Utopia. I will say of the Oasis class ships, the Wonder of the Seas is my favorite. It is really well done. For that large of a ship, and I'm not a large ship person, the Wonder of the Seas was really nice. So I'm curious how Utopia is going to be. And they also made her a weekend sailing. So did I really get a choice on whether I was going to go on Utopia or not? Not really. Like, I kind of have to go on Utopia. And I did book it very early on, which I'm glad. I price checked it a few weeks ago, and that price is skyrocketed on her. I am not on the inaugural, could not afford the inaugural. I am on it like a month after she launches, 2 months after she launches. I'll be there and report back on how great the Utopia is. But hopefully, by going on the Allure, getting some knowledge there, I'll be able to have a good feel for what the Utopia should feel like for a weekend sailing. Because I still think that Royal Caribbean hasn't fully thought through these large ships, the Oasis class ships, doing weekend sailings. They are going to be very different. And I think there's going to be problems that they just have not anticipated. I've done a couple of 3-nighters on Oasis class ships because they'll do a random 3-nighter here and there, Oasis, Allure, they'll do those. And they are just different. It is a whirlwind experience. So many people drive to the cruise ship because it's a weekend and you're close by, and you have that many more people driving. There's nowhere to park. Like there's a lot of issues. People want to get off early because we still got to get to work in the morning. And it just winds up being a bit of a mess. So we'll see how this plays out. My biggest concern is on the crew. I mean, they are going to be turning literally 6,000 to 7,000 people every 3 and 4 days from that cruise ship. That is a ton of work for them. Like, I can only imagine doing that, every 7 days, which is normal. But doing that every 3 and 4 days is going to be really tough on the crew. Cliff, you'll have to let us know what you think of the inaugural. I'm always interested to see how inaugurals go, though inaugurals I think are also a little risky. So hopefully they're going to meet their deadlines. There's not going to be any fires or anything like that on the ship build. That sometimes will delay the ship coming out, and those inaugurals get pushed back a little bit. And they're known to be a little buggy, if you will. People have to work through those out. But if you go on the inaugural, you do get some really cool swag. They'll give you inaugural certificates. They normally have like a t-shirt or a hat, something of that nature. They're also giving you. So hopefully you're going to have a great time and nothing like that will happen. Do I hide cruise ducks, Tony? I do not. Again, I'm kind of lazy sometimes. I looked at getting them one time, and then I saw that I needed to handwrite the labels. I probably could just print out some labels, but I chose not to do that. So I have not ever done cruising ducks. And if I see them, I normally don't pick them up. I might take a picture of it. I found one actually my mom found one when we were on Explore the Seas. And so I got to explain to her the history of cruising ducks, posted in the Facebook group for cruising ducks, which was really neat. She loved it. She got to keep it, and she brought it home to remember our cruise by. But I don't personally hide cruising ducks. On Virgin Voyages, I did take a picture of a few of these. Somebody was going around in Virgin style and leaving love notes. It was not a duck. It was literally just a purple piece of paper with some twine that they were tying in inconspicuous places. One of them had like a kiss on it and just said looking for love. And I didn't read the other because look, they wrote a little bit more. But just to show that Virgin has its own twist on it, or at least this one person on Virgin had its own twist on it. I can totally understand that. 6-packs all the way when we were younger. That's not a bad strategy, actually, Alan. If you're going to be using or getting a certificate, that actually might be a great way to do it. Keep in mind that for brand new ships, you've got to wait 12 months. It can't be a new ship anymore for you to use it on Royal Caribbean. So you're going to have to wait a little bit. You won't get her when she's new, but I mean, a year old's not that bad either. I love Hairspray. I like the Broadway shows. Grease is probably my least favorite one. Not on Oasis Class. That's on Liberty. I'm just not a huge fan. That and they used to play it at 4 o'clock on Coco K days when All Aboard is like 4:30. So I really wasn't a huge fan of that setup, but it was a weekend. They did what they had to. But I do love my Broadway plays. On Virgin this weekend, many of you may know they have a drag queen that's there, and she was performing at the roundabout from one of their stage singing, and she was singing a Sarah Bareilles song from Waitress, one that is a claim to fame for me because I saw Waitress before she ever went to Broadway. I saw Sarah Bareilles performing that at the American Repertory Theater in Cambridge, which was fantastic. She blew everybody away, so we knew she was heading to Broadway, but I'm very glad that she's been extremely successful. I'd love to see Waitress come onto the cruise ships. I think that is very doable, and everybody would love that show. Glad you are making it through. I should really prioritize it more. I'm trying to go on more varied ships these days, but I would choose to do. You're doing which one, Voyager? I would go on Voyager. I don't know that I look at going to Galveston, and it just seems like such a hassle to go there. So I'm not gonna do that. I'll wait for her to eventually come over this way, and then I'll jump onto her. All right, well, that looks like all the questions. We are at the hour-and-a-half mark, so I'm going to cut it. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out with me. I truly love spending my Sundays like this. So enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully, many of you actually have a long weekend. So first of all, to the Canadians, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. And to us Americans, happy Indigenous People Day, also known as Columbus Day. All right, everybody, this is Brandon, the Weekend Cruiser. I'm going to see you on a Weekend Cruise soon.